Today we have a woman who is setting out to end the stigma surrounding speaking on sexual health, specifically vaginal health.
Mhm.
Leda Toussaint is a Maryland resident and the creator of GNTLE. Her product line helps women with sensitive vaginals find a true cleanse and symptom relief by providing a healthy alternative. Her mission is feminine care without the harsh ingredients. I'll go on to read the rest of what it says. It says Lita is no stranger to vaginal infections. In her late 20s, she suffered from recurring yeast infections and bacterial vaginosis for almost a year. But after trying multiple products and antibiotics that only made her symptoms worse, she created a natural feminine wash with a clean and sophisticated formula where she found relief within days. She's not just the entrepreneur, she's the expert. Lita's 12-year background in medical science and passion for women's reproductive health laid the foundation to help launch Gentle in 2018. Lita is currently working to help women go gentle with the goal of dismantling the taboo stigma around women's health, bodies, and sexual wellness. Let's give a warm We Talk Weekly welcome to Miss Leda Toussaint.
Hi everyone, how you guys doing?
Hello.
How are you? How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Can you guys hear me well?
Yes, we can. You
Yes.
sound
Good.
great. You sound great. You know what? I'm gonna let classy lady Sparkle kind of spearhead this conversation because I think it's necessary for those to kind of be representative of issues that affect them, right? However, one of the things that I do want to ask is, you know, uh, what how can we as a community uh, have these um, uncomfortable conversations, so to speak, without feeling judged or the stigma behind truth, so to speak, or
Mhm.
things that actually happen? What do you think that is?
So that's a really good question. Honestly, it starts in the home, right? It starts with us uh, just calling things what they are, right?
Right.
We give a lot of like pet names to a
We
lot of
do. We
things
do. Yeah.
as we're raising children. But if we're just, us in our black in the black community, we're very honest people to begin with. But I think when it comes to sexual health or sexual wellness or just the education of all of it, we try to pity pat around it and try to give all these like weird names to our different body parts and things like that. So I think if we just stick to what they are and just being honest about what our body parts are and how they function, and if we don't know, right? Because I think a lot of us don't know what that, or I think a lot of us don't know and understand how certain body parts work, right? And what the actual reproductive use is for a lot of our parts. So it's really just getting back to the basics of, let's stay with the foundation of, this is a penis, this is a vagina,
Mm.
and just kind of go from there. I think because I also think because we live in a hyper sexualized
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
society, and within our own community, us as Black women being hypersexualized as well at very young ages, it changes the conversation and the dynamic. So we have responsibility as a community, and as our families, to just stay with the foundation, stick with the foundation, and just kind of go from there.
Yeah, and you said something that stood out for me. But when in terms of using the actual terms, right? Because you hear, like, even in school. I worked within school, early childhood, and you hear stuff. Teachers, does your cookie hurt or
Mm-hmm.
things of
Mm-hmm.
that nature. Because we don't want to be so overly, I guess, blunt when it comes to kids' social emotional learning, right? And so if you're trying to teach something without even being offensive, right? How do you get everybody on the same page to say, okay, some, it's okay to say, penis or vagina, right? When in a learning aspect versus something that might be private parts or cookie, what is the conversation that needs to be had so it doesn't appear offensive?
So I guess I get your question. I think I have a question to your question,
Sure.
right?
Yeah. Oh, understood. Yeah.
What is actually offensive?
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
if
Sure.
if we're
Right.
always in a learning space, right? If we
Right.
teach every, if we treat every space as a teaching moment, right?
Right.
We're always learning. So you could just keep it at the basics of like, this is science, right? Or this is biology.
Mm-hmm.
It's the
Right.
basics of what is happening with us, as we're growing, right? As we're evolving as people. So I think that's my answer to the question, is a question like, what is actually offensive about
Fair
it?
enough.
you
Yeah,
know
fair enough. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, you're 100% accurate. I mean, I think because in this time, the current state that we're in, I think everyone is hypersensitive, right?
Yep.
And so you have to, unfortunately, straddle that line,
Mhm.
uh, and be, uh, or give other people safe space for what is offensive to them, because what may be offensive to someone else may not be offensive to me, right? And I think that's where the conversation comes with comedians, right?
Mhm.
They're there to a degree be offensive to
Yep.
make it funny, right? But the conversation, well, that was a little offensive when you talk about even
Mm-hmm.
where we are with anti-Semitism and Dave Chappelle and things of that nature.
Mhm.
So it's just, I think it's a bigger conversation that needs to be had.
Mhm.
But I think we need these conversations to get to the bottom of it, right?
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree. It again, it just starts with, and you know what, I'm one of the people who will put a disclosure on something when I feel like, because I'm an empath, right? So I can feel when
Ah, okay,
situations get
okay.
very uncomfortable for people,
Hmm.
including myself. So, even just asking the question, am I making you uncomfortable? Is this
Right,
Mm-hmm.
uncomfortable for you? Right. And
right,
just go down that rabbit hole of asking questions like, why is this uncomfortable? Well, I'm not used to this. Or you start falling into different, someone might reveal something to you that they dealt with, sexual trauma when they were younger, right? It just
right,
kind of makes them feel uncomfortable to just even openly speak about it. They prefer to do everything when it comes to, their sexual health and wellness
right,
behind closed doors, right? So it just depends. And I'm not afraid to, and I think a lot of us should get to a point where we're not afraid to just ask questions. Is
right.
this
Mm-hmm.
making you uncomfortable? And why, right? Let's talk about that. We don't even have to talk about the situation at hand because we'll get there, but let's unpack this thing of what is actually making you uncomfortable, if that makes any sense.
Right, right. I got one more question,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll let you take. I know,
No, no,
I, I said I was going to give it to you.
no, it's
Yeah.
no, but it's a great conversation because I'll Red Robin back. Go
Okay,
ahead.
no doubt. Because I think it goes to specifically the reason why I'm saying, like, but
Uh
in
huh.
any event, right? And being men, right?
Hmm.
Some of us are girl dads, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because I'm already getting uncomfortable thinking about it, and I'm not even a girl dad, right? But
Hmm.
I mean, I adopt every anyway, but
Mm-hmm.
but in any event, I got like nieces,
Yep.
and what would you recommend for men who are even the masculine man who folds when it comes to the baby girl, right? How do
Mhm.
you help them, or what would you say to a gentleman like that who feels uncomfortable when it comes to women hygiene for
Mhm.
a young lady, the whole idea of when she get her first cycle, how do you help him address that, if of course mom isn't around, right, when you just talk about a girl there, but how do you help men address those uncomfortable conversations with their baby girls?
So, okay, this goes back to being honest, right? You, as the macho of the macho of men, um, have had experiences with a woman's sexual hygiene or her feminine hygiene, right?
Right.
You have been in and as comfortable as it might seem, you know when it doesn't smell right, you know when it might not even look right. Like, you've been here.
He gonna put the clap.
Yes.
You've been here, you know this. So, if anything, that should be your first experience in your mind, right? That's like, okay, so I mean, that's about a little offensive to me. I'm not sure what that was,
Oh,
but
jeez.
I've been here and I've seen that. So when you're speaking to your daughters, right? Um, it's not that you haven't had experience with your feminine with a woman's feminine hygiene. Matter of fact, most women notice that they have a problem when their male counterpart actually tells them.
Wait. Hold on. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm learning some stuff here.
That's the
Ho-
point.
yeah.
Yes.
So hold up. Wait. So you mean to tell me that women can't, I guess, smell themselves, or they can't tell without like a gentleman saying like, "Yo, something ain't
So
right
it's
here."
not, I won't say that she doesn't know. Like it's not
Okay.
that we
All right.
don't know. We
Right.
can
Right.
tell if something is off if we're paying attention to our bodies.
Ah, I
There
got you.
are
Okay.
so many of us who are just not in tune with our bodies.
Oh
We
wow.
can't,
Okay.
we can see like maybe the discharge has changed, maybe it's a different color, right? The smell is kind of off.
Mhm.
But there are a lot of, and I'm saying this, I've been doing this for 4 years, right? I've had gentle, and we've been doing gentle for 4 years. And the questions that I still get of how do I know if I'm having a yeast infection? And I'm talking about from women in their 30s and 40s. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Mm.
Right.
So like it's, you know, for you listen, okay, we're gonna be honest tonight, right?
That's
Please
right. Be
listen. This we
honest.
talk
That's
weekly. We
right.
keep it a bean. Yeah.
Okay, we keeping it 100. Okay, so y'all explore. Okay, you first of all, growing up as men, growing up as boys, you explore your parts, right? You explore everything. That's just
Yeah.
something. It's a
We
natural
sure
thing
do.
for you to explore.
That's
So
right.
when it comes to your, your penises and
Hmm.
anything really, you just exploring that. When you decide to start having sex with a woman, y'all love exploring. Whether you like to explore with your hands, your
Hmm.
mouth,
Hmm. Hmm.
whatever, your eyes, just let me see, let me touch, feel, taste, whatever. So you're all up in there. There are a lot of men who have seen a lot of different vaginas and vulvas, and a woman, right, has not actually taken a mirror to look at her vulva to
Ah,
see
okay.
what's normal and
Right, right,
abnormal.
right.
This is when I talk about how deeply rooted this hypersexualization is in this country. It
I,
runs deep.
I agree.
So much so that a lot of women won't even look at their own vulvas, right?
Right.
So if we're sitting there if we're sitting here thinking about, okay, so how do I talk to my, as a macho man, right? To like,
Yeah.
how do I talk to my daughters about this? You have already explored the vagina, the
Hmm.
world of vulvas and vaginas. You've seen many of them. You've
Right.
seen vulva lips that have been long, short, brown, pink. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
You've seen
I'm getting
so many.
uncomfortable just hearing it. I'm getting uncomfortable. I mean, I got you. Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. You're right. No, you're right. Hmm.
So, with that in mind, you in your own right, you are very qualified to have a conversation with your young daughters,
I get
right?
you. I get you.
Mhm.
And I hear it. And I hear it. I'm uncomfortable just kind of like listening. And it's interesting because you're right. And a lot of men already, yeah, experienced a lot. But and I'm sorry. I'm
No,
sorry, Spark.
no, you're fine. Go ahead.
Because I'm
No, but
learning.
you know what? This is more interesting because as a male,
Right.
it's allowing you to ask those questions that you've never
Yeah.
known you know what I mean? So I'm a woman, I know,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
I like the fact that
Okay.
it's getting you out your comfort zone.
I do
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Very uncomfortable right now. Very uncomfortable. All right. So, I'm sorry. I'm really uncomfortable here. So when you talk about being honest, though, right, and you know that, most men do experience that or have those experiences, then we talk about. Remember, we talked about, having that uncomfortable conversation, right?
Mhm.
So how would we then? I mean, I want you to give me some language here, right?
Yeah.
If we are, being, exploratory with our women, with women who we're with, our mate, how do we then tell them that they might be having a situation that doesn't seem right, so to speak, if that makes sense?
So again, I think the best approach is asking questions,
Okay.
because you need to understand at what level you need to enter into the conversation, right?
Okay.
Your daughter might be very aware of her body,
Hmm.
and she knows like something is off, my pH is off, I have a
Right.
smell, I just don't know what to do about it.
Right.
So
Right.
if you enter into the conversation and she's already aware, and you say, do you know what your vagina is or your vulva? You get what I'm saying? She'll be like,
Uh,
come on now, like you're doing the most,
no,
right?
I get you, but I'm talking more so about the women that we're with, not
Oh,
our
that you're
daughters now,
with.
but the
Okay.
Partner,
women's that we're with, and we're
her
being,
flora.
yeah, and we're
Okay.
That's what it's
whatever that
called.
means,
Yes,
right?
you better talk that talk. Come on, Flora.
but we're exploring, right? How do we, tell someone that we're with that is something that isn't right down here? How what language would you give men to tell, say for example, their wives
Mhm.
or their girlfriends?
So honesty is the best key, and
Yeah.
a lot of we appreciate honesty so much, right? Like we and you can even say, listen, I'm the queen of disclosures. Look, this might make you like it might
Mm-hmm.
offend you, but it's not my intention to offend you. I just want to say this to you as uncomfortable as it is for me to even say it, but I want you to be aware of it because that way we can go do the we's, right?
Yeah, yeah,
We
yeah.
can go and figure out how to take care of
Right,
this
right,
together,
right.
right? So
Hmm.
if I noticed that, and she says, okay, well, just tell me. Well, I noticed that you have um an interesting smell, and it hasn't been like it was before, but it
Hmm.
smells, your vagina smells different. And she'll say, well, how? Like, what does it smell like?
Hmm.
And y'all can probably go from there. But just come. I would just go with disclosures, like setting the stage for her to know that you're about to tell her something that may offend her, but that's not what you're trying to do.
And I appreciate that, but I'm gonna have to disagree. That
Why?
I'm. I'm gonna disagree just a
Yo.
little bit because I know for a fact that the women don't want to hear the truth. I mean, if they say if they say do you think I'm a little I'm getting a little bigger? You're not supposed to say yes, babe. You're getting It's like no, you okay, right? So if they say do I smell a little, you're not gonna.
But
Women
why
don't
would
want
you
to
lie?
hear that, huh?
Why would you lie?
Because I don't want to offend them.
Yeah, but that's the point. If you say, "Listen, I'm not trying to offend you, but and I know you might not like what I'm about to say, but
I
here we go with accountability. Now this is a whole
I
nother
hear you.
conversation,
Hey.
okay? And I know a lot of us women, and I'm
No doubt,
speaking
no
for
doubt.
Black women, we have this hard thing with accountability,
Yeah,
but it takes somebody to just hold our feet to the fire
yeah, for
in that
sure.
sense. Now, if you like, listen, I don't want the smoke, then that's something different.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't want the smoke. Most black guys don't
Now,
want the smoke.
it,
All right, I'm gonna throw it to you.
no, no,
I said
no. But
enough. I said,
I just want to add to that conversation that a lot of times, even if you approach her like, babe, are you under a little stress, or because those things set your pH off too.
Yes, they do.
When a woman is stressed out, when a woman changes her lotion or her detergent,
yeah.
like all those little small things could definitely set it off. Or I mean, even on another level of when protection is used. Sometimes the protection is latex or something and it could change it. It's
Okay.
so many different
Yes.
variables as to what can, change it. And to be honest, the real reason a lot of women's pH is off is because of the male. He's looking at her like, babe, it smells a little pungent. And now she needs to look at him and say, okay, well, are you eating something different? Have you had your diet changed? Because now you're planting the seed into her. Like, I'm gonna go
Now
back to the
blame us, right?
professional.
Blame
No,
us,
no,
right? Yeah, no doubt.
I'm gonna take it back to the professional and see what she says.
No, you are spot on, spot on. So here's what happens, right? Scientifically speaking, uh, the female flora, right, there's a female flora and a male flora, right? The female flora is very acidic, so the pH has an acidic um, pH to it, and anything that comes like that throws off that pH. I mean, like you said, there are very small things that can just tip the scale of that pH and throw it off and cause chaos, right? Yeast infections, BV, all these other things. Um, the male sperm, right, or semen, I would say sperm, but the semen is alkaline or basic, right? So when you are having sex and you're mixing the floras, you're mixing, you're changing her pH by, um, ejaculating inside of her or just the pre cum, right? So when you mix those, and I'm not talking about getting pregnant. I'm just saying, just when
Right.
you mix those, it changes her pH, right? It changes her pH. So you're spot on. A lot of us have had these issues, pH imbalances, due to our sexual partners. And that's a whole nother conversation, right? So we sitting
Right.
here saying, okay, love, what are you eating? How are you taking care of your body? Do you exercise? You get what I'm saying? Are you drinking enough water? Because if not, then you can throw me off. But technically, if we are speaking scientifically, regardless if he's taking care of himself, because his pH is already, because his the pH of his biome or his flora is already alkaline, it can always just have a chance of throwing off your pH anyway, right? So it's the risk we run when we are
Mm-hmm.
having unprotected sex,
Mhm.
right? Um, the other part to that, you had mentioned the stress, right? You are, listen, when I say you hit the nail on the head, the stress, the things that we put, the new lotions, the new soaps, the detergents that we use in our clothing. So here's the thing about stress, right? So there's stress is a hormone. So cortisol is a hormone that produces, that
Mm-hmm.
stress hormone. And when we have too much of that, it throws off our pH as well, right? It's just throwing off all the hormones. So now you have a hormonal imbalance, right? Same thing with changing your lotions and body washes and all of that. A lot of these products on the shelves right now have something called xeno estrogens in them. So anytime you put anything on the skin, it absorbs 10 times faster than it would if you ingested it. So if you are putting, you want all these new fancy lotions that all these influencers are using, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they have all these different parabens and artificial fragrances. A lot of these are your xenoestrogens, and they cause an increase and a spike in the estrogen hormone, which throws off your entire hormone and creates a hormone imbalance. Does that
Jeez.
make sense?
Yeah. Jeez.
Yes.
So here we are
You
when we
preaching.
sit here, we like, look, um women kind of, yeah, we're so emotional, we go through all these things. There's so many things that we have to deal with that y'all don't even know. Like,
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
on, from the skin, from things we put on our skin to the things we eat, from and I always say our vaginas or our reproductive system controls our entire life, right? It sits at the core of us. It controls our entire life. It can change. It can affect our social life, right? Our eating habits, just everything about us. She's super high maintenance, so we have to do the best we can to take care of her. And if you're coming to me as the man I'm having sex with, and you say, "Look, I notice, a smell or something like that," well, because she's finicky, right? And I've been doing everything I can to make sure she's good anyway. I might be offended by that. But let me know that you're not trying to offend me, that you're actually just trying to help me. So, I mean, that's my point. I'm sticking to it.
And so
Mm.
Jeff said, shout out to Jeff Goodson. Because he said, shout out to him. He said this is your best show, but he said it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And
Yes.
Mhm.
I agree with him. Definitely to the point, gentlemen. I'm glad that the gentleman came in to talk a little bit about that. Yeah, I think I'm appreciating the conversation.
Yes.
Are you
Um,
still uncomfortable?
very,
Yeah.
cause
But
you, go ahead,
oh,
sis.
I'm so sorry. But
No,
that's what I was going to ask say earlier. So you hit the nail on the head when you mentioned about speaking about truth when you're talking to young children,
Mhm.
because then you take that uncomfortability away.
Yes.
I did the same thing. My mom, when raising me, my dad, it was like those private parts had names.
Hmm.
And then the same thing with my children that I did. And I'm now switching that, even with, grandchildren. I feel as though you keep it scientific, because then sexual traumas that happen usually in the family or in the household, the child will not be as uncomfortable to talk about these things, to bring it to the adult that they're safe and around, that they can tell them, hey, this person touched this part of my body. If you can speak in fingers and toes and phalanges and elbows and scapula, all the parts of the anatomy of the body,
Yep.
then why can't we scientifically call what it is? And
Yep.
I think that would take the uncomfortability away from what C was just saying.
Yep. I agree. I agree. It's a this. keep it to the basics, right? Stick to the foundation um, of what these parts are called. And the other thing to that, I was recently watching uh, I was watching some video, and they were talking about the pet names that pedophiles will use when they're talking to children, right?
Mm.
About their private parts and things like that. And because children are so used to those pet names for their private parts, it seems like it's okay for this adult person to be talking to me about the pet names of my, you know what I
Mm.
mean, of
Mm-hmm.
my private part. So, when you know that, oh no, my mom says that no one can touch my vulva, no one can touch my vagina, right? Like, it throws people off because first of all, they don't even think that you should know this. But because you're
Mm-hmm.
so comfortable with saying it and you're so matter of fact with it, it kind of changes the situation in my eyes. So you're right, you're spot on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Lita, can you tell us, like, you are filled with knowledge? Can you tell us how did you create your beautiful brand of Gentle and what took you on that journey to get there?
Of course. So see, this might make you uncomfortable.
Right,
But
right.
so I was there was a time I was actually planning my wedding and trying to buy a house at the same time. I think my sister was also very sick at this around the same time, and my body just kind of went haywire. Went through. Um, I had recurring yeast infections. I would be treated, go to the doctor. They would give me an antibiotic. It would just come back, right? I would try all these different products on the shelves, and they would just come back. And then I noticed a change in the discharge and the smell. And I went to the doctor and they told me you have bacterial vaginosis. Same process. They give me the antibiotic and it came back. Tried things on the shelves, didn't work. And I was just tired. I was just like, I'm done doing. I was like, what is happening? What's going on? I mean, now I understand that I was dealing with a lot of, I had that hormonal imbalance that we talked about, right? Um, and so I was like, I'm just tired of doing all this. And the spirit was telling me, just stop doing everything. I think at one point I had like, you know, three different products in front of me, and I had the bottle of the antibiotics that the doctor had wrote the prescription for, and I was just like looking at all of it, like I just can't do this. And so I had a conversation with my sister-in-law, and she's um, into herbs and things like that. And so we were having this conversation. I had started to do a lot of research on going the natural route, but what that actually looked like, I didn't really know. And so we were just having some discussions about like what I can
Hey
possibly use.
y'all,
And I
it's
was
your
like, you
girl
know what?
Lily. So make
Well,
sure you
I'll get
keep
to
it
that
locked
point,
to
but
We
I just
Talk
need something that
Weekly
I
on
can use on a daily basis.
106.5
So
FM.
I decided to go ahead and do some research. I'm like, how can I make my own feminine wash? I knew what I did it. I knew what I did not want it to have. I knew I couldn't have any of these detergents that were in there, right? And all these products. I mean, I looked at every single product. They were all water-based products with a bunch of fragrances and detergents. And I was like, it has to be something different. So I did a lot of research. And I finally came up with my formula. It's a very sophisticated formula with only four natural ingredients. And I tested it with nine different women from ages 23 to 65. And I was like, oh, we in there. Let's
Mm-hmm.
I think this is actually something that not just for myself, but and God turned my message into my message. And so I was able to share this not only, with my family, with the women in my family, but some of my friends who wanted to try it the same time that I made the first batch. And it was received very well. And so it's an aloe based formula, and it does not lather. So this is why I tell people all the time, this is a product that you have never tried before, nothing like it, because every single product that's on the shelf right now will lather. Like once you pump it, I don't care if it's a foam, if it's like a lotion kind of soap. The more you rub it in, the more suds that you will get. With this, it's not that, because there are no detergents in that. Detergents pull our natural moisture and oils from us,
Yeah.
and that's what helps protect us from all those free radicals and those icky things that can cause some other infection from an external perspective. So but yeah, so that's how I started it. I was dealing with recurrent yeast infection and bacterial vaginosis. And I was like, I can do this, put my scientific mind to work and just go ahead and figure this out. And I did. And I'm proud of it.
Awesome. That is wonderful. And I'm hearing you say antibiotics a lot, and that feeds the imbalance. Like why I don't doctors do it, but that feeds them, right?
Yes, it does. It does. It's think about it like okay, so anytime I go into my teaching bag, I'm very animated in my mind. I'm a creative visionary, so like uh I try to give, paint a really good picture. So um let's take, a party. Everybody's at a party and it's the same type of people in this party, right? You got um you know all the good people at this party. This is the good bacteria. Everybody's having a good time, making sure everybody is good. There's no chaos. Everyone's kind of chilling, having a great time. And then you enter into your body these antibiotics, right? And these antibiotics are like this, causes the overgrowth of bad bacteria. So people, in the club were really good people, good bacteria, and the next thing you know, there are some bad bacteria that kind of get in, which throws off your pH, and then the antibiotics come in, trying to get the bad bacteria out, but it only makes the bad bacteria bigger and
Mm.
multiply and stronger. So now you have a lot more of these bad bacteria up in the club. And you're sitting there trying to figure out why I have a yeast infection, right? And it happens over and over and over again. And most antibiotics are sugar based, right? And
Mhm.
what feeds yeast is sugar.
Right.
So it's really interesting to me that they continue to do it, but yeah, I don't know.
We need trailblazers like you. Unfortunately, the soldiers on the front line that go through it, but then, like you said, as scientists and visionary to say, hey, I'm going to find something, that's going to help. So
Yeah.
thank you. And you also mentioned that it doesn't lather. Like that's a self cleaning oven down there. We don't want it to lather, right?
So we don't. So here's the thing. What we're cleaning is the external parts of the vagina. So anytime we're dealing with our it's really called our vulva. Okay. So
Hmm.
your vulva and your vagina are not the same. I literally just posted this on Instagram the other day. Your vulva and your vagina are not the same thing. If you ever look at your, like, open your legs and see, if you open a woman's leg and just look, what you can see on the outside is called her vulva. The entire thing is called her vulva. There's a small little hole, right, where, where babies come from. It's called the vaginal canal, right? Or where you would insert your penis. It's called the vaginal canal. I'm sorry if I'm making you uncomfortable.
This is life. So it's
It is life.
it's and you're putting it in very medical professional terms. So thank
Okay,
you.
so yeah, so that very small hole is the opening of the vaginal canal. That's the vagina. The vaginal canal is the vagina. Everything else is the vulva. So when you're cleansing, when you're cleaning yourself, you're cleaning the vulva, right? So you have the big lips and you see the little lips, right? The big lip, right between the big lips and the little lips of the vulva, what you can see on the outside when you open your legs, is where oil and dirt build up, right? Oil, dirt, dead skin cells, old urine, possibly feces, depending on how you're wiping and what's going on, right? So that's what you want to clean. We are not cleaning or putting products up inside of your vaginal canal. That's
Hmm.
never going to happen. If you are doing that to cleanse, because you're having some issue and something's happening and you think the smell was coming from your vaginal canal, then that's a different situation and you need to go a different route. But we want to refrain from putting anything up that small canal, that small hole. Everything else that you can see on the outside is what we want to cleanse.
Hmm. All right. So that makes sense. So it's the outer layer, like
Hmm.
you said, where feces or dead skin or even sweat, like that buildup, where that's where the cleaning needs to go, but nothing to insert. So do you suggest to women not to douche or tampons or to insert anything, in the vaginal canal?
So, um, I would say do not douche without professional help or advice, right? When we are douching, usually what's in the douche is vinegar. they're selling you vinegar and water. So if you are going to a CVS or anything, you're like, oh, I just bought a douche. Well, you just paid somebody, $4 or $5 for vinegar and water. But anyway, you can douche. It just depends on what's happening and what's going on. If you're douching just because you have a smell, right? You know, when you have a smell, there are things like changing, going commando and not wearing panties for a while, right? That can help with that. There are other things that you can do to try to figure out why you're having this smell. We don't want to just start doing things just because we're having a smell, or we think the smell is what is throwing off our something, our pH is off and something is throwing off our smell as well. We just don't want to go, you know, head first into trying to do things to remedy the situation. So to answer your question, do I recommend douching? I only recommend douching if a professional is guiding you through the process,
Mm-hmm.
right? Anytime I suggest a woman to do any type of douching is when we've already went through the process of changing her diet, which really was what it starts there, changing her clothing, changing some of the products that she's using on her body, right? Remember I said it absorbs 10 times faster than it would if you ingest it. So we want to try all these things first before we start putting things up into our vaginal canal and changing the biome or changing the flora altogether, because when you do that, it's like the antibiotic, you're killing everything in there, including the good bacteria. So
Right.
you might end up finding that your situation is even worse than when you started.
Wow. Thank
Yeah.
you. And I think these are very important conversations for male and female, so that like C said, for the girl dads or for just the guardians that will tell the young ladies, or some young women don't even know. Like they're hiding it and they're like not knowing, and they're going to the store and they're going and buying all these things and inserting it in them, and not just the pH is off. There's so many other things, unfortunately, that are harmful in their future that they're causing and they don't even know.
Yep.
And it does start in the gut. What's your thoughts on probiotics? Do you
Oh,
feel as though that is a good suggestion for women?
absolutely. Right. Probiotics and prebiotics, right? They're
Mm-hmm.
so important to our gut health. I always say your gut is connected to your reproductive system, right? So what's happening with your gut is more than likely going to trickle down and happen with your reproductive system as well. So yeah, like the probiotics and the prebiotics are important because it it boosts, it's almost like boosting the immune system or the environment of the gut itself, right? And so even if, like, one of the things that I did, and this was very interesting because at this point before I created Gentle, I was trying out some other things, but one of the things that I did was something called a probiotic pearl.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can insert the probiotic. It's like the lactobacillus bacteria. I think at the point where I took it was like maybe 10 million, which really wasn't enough now that I think about it. But
Mm-hmm.
I inserted that, and it actually dissolves right inside of the vagina to help boost the biome or the flora with good bacteria. And so, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can even get it through your food. So eating sauerkraut, kefir is another one. Through some of your green leafy vegetables to give you that probiotic as well. It's so important for us to maintain a healthy gut. A healthy gut is means that you have a healthy reproductive system as well.
Lita, you are just like all these things is just like I could talk to you for so long. Because although I know a lot of this is just confirmation, like, okay, the research is right. You got the professional telling you. So that is so good. That is so good. So let me ask you this, and this is a little bit not, with the vagina, it's
Mhm.
more so with the penis. For men who are non circumcised, is that something that's healthy or unhealthy for a woman?
So I think I want to say it's both and neither at the same time, right? When a man is uncircumcised, he has to take extra care to make sure that he is clean, right? So there's a lot more bacteria and yeast, right? Even for them, that can accumulate underneath the skin if they're not cleaning properly. So if you have a man that and you're dating someone or you're married to someone um, with an uncircumcised penis, make sure that they are pulling down that skin and cleaning properly. I even suggest, men to even use gentle. This is gentle up here, but I suggest using gentle also because it does the exact same thing as it does for us. It cleanses the
Mm.
way that it's supposed to, removing the oil and, well, the excess oil, the dirt, the dead skin, that yeast that's sitting around and underneath the uncircumcised skin, and allowing it to be without all the extra parabens and the fragrances and all of that, and it allows it to be dry and to breathe, right? So with that extra skin, we want to make sure that we are doing what we need to do to keep it as clean as possible. The worst thing that can happen is that an uncircumcised penis entering into the vagina and causing a complete imbalance of her pH, because of the yeast that's there. Because next thing you know, y'all start passing the yeast back and forth, and it'll be chaotic. So
Yeah,
yeah,
for sure, for sure. I want to because it looks like we're running out of time, and I want to give you the opportunity to kind of one talk about you know uh, pretty much all of your products and what they look like. I see you have them behind you. Why don't you pull some down and like tell us, and just real quick, fellas, you too, prebiotics,
yes,
Pre
probiotics,
and probiotics,
absolutely,
yes.
drink water,
yes,
eat clean, your gut,
yes.
everything she's saying. It's not just for women.
And
It's
they
X, Y,
can
Z.
too use her
Yeah,
products.
absolutely. So go ahead, let's talk about your products. Show them to us. Yep.
Okay, so here we go. So they come in two different sizes, and you see the dramatic size difference, right? I always say if you want to try it out and you're like, I'm not really sure if I want to go ahead and do the big bottle yet. And the small one is also good for travel. Try this one out. It's a 1.7 ounce bottle. It usually lasts if you use it every single day, 10 to 14 days, right? The large bottle is an 8.5 ounce. This will last you, and I say keep it in your shower. It'll last you about maybe 30 days, or a little more, a month and a half or so, like that. Um, but it is a foam. So let me see if I want to make sure that I have one that's full. Yeah, I think this one is full. So it is a foam, and what it does is you'll see that it foams out. Yeah, give me a new one. Can you give me one over there? Thank you. Sorry, y'all. Give me a second.
That's all right.
No,
You good.
Yeah,
take
I
your
want to make
time.
sure that you get to see the full thing. But it is a foam. Here we go. And here you go.
Oh yeah.
So can y'all
Yep.
see that?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yep. So it's a foam, and as you continue to rub it in, I mean, this, like I said, it's an aloe-based product. It has almond oil, um, Castile soap, right, which is made from olives, right, and then you
Mm-hmm.
have your organic lavender essential oil, right?
Oh,
So it
very
has
good.
a very
Yes.
light, airy scent to it. But as you see me kind of rubbing it in, it's not going to get soapier. This is what I mean by that lather.
Right.
Why? Because there are no detergents or sulfates in this. So as you continue to rub it in, it starts to go away. But you
Yeah,
can still
I could
see
see
the
that. Yeah.
nice slip to it. It's a nice
Mm-hmm.
velvety slip to it, and the product is still there and it's working. The question that I get very often is how how long, or can I use more? It's starting to go away. Can I use more? Absolutely. There are four simple ingredients in this, and they are nature's, products. So absolutely, they're
Give it to
great
the
for you.
secret.
The
Right.
ingredients are all natural. And just use as much as you need to. Plus, our vulva sizes are different, right? So, I might need a little more than somebody who has a smaller vulva than I do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or in the summertime, you might sweat a lot more in the summertime, so you might have to use more. I do recommend using it twice a day, in the morning and in the evening. But again, you use it as much as you need to.
So,
Um,
so how would a guy use it?
so same way, right? So what we're doing, women, ladies, and gents, right? What we're doing is we're taking the foam on clean hands. We're not using loofahs and rags. I know Black people, we love our rags.
Yes,
Okay.
we do. I'm like, wait, not a rag. Hold up.
we, we are using our hands, our clean hands, our fingertips, right? So
Mhm.
if you're a man, I just need you to go ahead and just massage that over your penis, and just massage it and clean it and everything. And then you want to go ahead and rinse it off. Same thing
Mhm.
with the ladies. Go ahead and use your. I usually use my middle fingers, but whatever fingers that feel right for you to massage the product inside the between the lips that we talked about, where the oil and dirt lives. That's
Mhm.
where we want to go ahead and clean and massage our vulva. Okay, this is self-care. Like I'm telling you, you
Yes.
get to a
Hundred
place
percent.
where you're just kind of like, I want to make, and men, y'all have to do self-care as well,
That
right?
100%, 100%. And fellas, like some fellas is just too masculine to do. I don't need that, right? No, y'all need to
You
clean that.
need to
Yeah, yeah,
clean,
yeah.
right?
But that's
Y'all
the
need to clean
thing.
up.
If
Yeah,
you
for
want,
sure.
if you don't want that uncomfortable conversation
Yeah,
with the
yeah, for sure.
woman, then don't. Then you have to start with you
Yeah,
because
Yep.
you're putting it in her.
yeah, for
Yep.
sure, for sure. Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
So
I
are
got
you
OCD,
cleansing?
so I,
Right.
I
Right.
got OCD,
Yeah.
so I'm
But
kind
where do we get it, Lita?
yeah.
I'm getting mine, so I need to know where I get it. I'm buying it for my daughters.
Mhm.
I need to know.
Mhm.
Okay, so you go to gentlewash.com. That's GNTLE wash.com. I do have this as a subscription also. So you can go ahead and get it every single month or every 2 months and
Mhm.
in any size. You actually save money if you go ahead and do the subscription. So you can go to gentlewash.com or you can head over to Amazon. I'm over there as well. I know we got our Amazon
Yeah, for
Primes and we
sure.
want that 2 day shipping.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
we're over on Amazon and you can purchase either size over there on Amazon as well.
We need to get you to Shark Tank. You been on Shark Tank?
I have not,
You need to get to
like
Shark Tank.
I'm just trying to get into, pitching. And I
Yeah, for
just did
sure.
my first pitch competition last
Oh,
year and I
fantastic.
was excited
Awesome.
about it. Like I'm glad I finally did it. So now I know what this is going to look like for me. So fingers
Absolutely.
crossed,
Yeah.
good things in
You got
2023.
this.
Absolutely.
Oh, it
We,
was
we
such a
yeah,
pleasure
definitely
talking
it's a
with
pleasure to
her.
talk to you.
You
But
too.
real quick, for those who are watching and saying to themselves, like, well, what gives you, the power? What gives you the right to say, or like, who are you to create something? Like, what would you say to that person? Like, your background, because I want somebody to understand, like, this didn't come, to be yesterday.
Hmm.
This took time to create, right? So I
Yes.
just wanted to put you in that space so you can kind of, pitch to the reason why you have a background in this and why you're educated enough to do this. Yeah.
Yeah. So God qualifies me first and foremost.
I know that's right, my sister.
um, but I am honest, like besides that, because that is very important for me to like I had to really make sure that I understood that the most high is my qualification. My experience from college up until now, right? I've been in the medical sciences, I have a degree in biology. I've worked in all different types of all different parts of healthcare, mainly in transfusion medicine.
Hmm.
And I just pivoted, right? I've always stayed in healthcare, but I just pivoted into women's health when I decided to start paying more attention to my own body and figuring out what I needed. And so I don't really like the word expert,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Because it in my mind it makes me feel like there's no room for growth and learning.
Absolutely.
And so I'm
Hmm.
always a student, right? The people that are still learning their craft and still being able and comfortable enough to contradict themselves when they are learning new things, I'm
Hmm.
totally like that individual, and those people are some of my favorite people. So I'm always a student, right? I'm
Absolutely.
always a student. Yes, I run a business. If you have questions that I don't know, I'm not going to be the one to act like I know.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I'm going to say, I don't know, but that's a really good question. Let me go ahead and figure this out. So, yeah, like I have the degrees, right?
Yeah,
And if you're one of those people who need to see the people with degrees, I got that.
yeah,
If
for
that's what
sure.
you're
Hmm.
looking for.
Hmm.
But as far as my
Love it.
story is what gives me that my testimony is what gives me my credentials really.
One hundred
Awesome.
percent. One hundred
Social
percent.
media,
Yeah, yeah,
For sure.
absolutely. So, yeah, before we let you go, why don't you tell everybody how they can get in contact with you, find your stuff, all that good old stuff. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I'm over and present on Instagram. So you can follow me and find me over there at gentlewash.com. Gentlewash.com. Gentle Lady Wash. GNTLE Lady Wash over on Instagram. Also on Facebook. And you can follow us at Gentle Store on Amazon. And what else? I think, and then the website again is gentlewash.com. Oh, and TikTok. I'm also on TikTok at Gentle Lady Wash as well. So follow me there. I'm always dropping some good content. And yeah.
Fantastic, fantastic. One thing we always say on the show is once you come to the show, you're a friend to the show. And so you're more than welcome to come back. We got to have more of these conversations. You know, we always, you know, say that it takes the discourse to move, right? To move forward, right? If you don't have that uncomfortable conversation, everybody stay in a safe space, a safe place, and don't want to progress, right? We get complacent with what we don't know, right? Because we scared to learn. Right.
Yeah.
And so I just say, continue doing what you're doing. Really appreciate this. And women in STEM. I mean, literally, that's what you are. And so we need, yes, black women, black girl magic.
Yes.
Yeah, we need more of you in a visible space, not just being unseen.
Yes.
Right. So little girls, even little boys, and people who are looking at you and growing up can see a representation of themselves to say, hey, I can possibly do that too. So it's important for us to continue, and me as a black man, to continue to support the sisters and amplify their messaging, especially when I believe it's going to be good and beautiful for the community to learn and absorb. So we appreciate you for doing what you're doing. You keep doing it, my sister. Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate everything that you guys are doing. Keep pushing the boundaries. I love the conversations here. And thank you for having me. I'm humbled by your words and just an honor to be here.
There you go. We appreciate you, my sister. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We're closing out with this. That's the end of our show. We're super excited. Listen, how do you say it? Is it Toussaint? Toussaint?
Yeah, Toussaint.
Toussaint. That's a beautiful name. You want to give a background of your name?
Listen, I'm married into it, but you know, they are Trinidadian and Haitian. So yeah.
Kudos to the brother. Where the brother at? He's around. Tell him I said kudos to him. You know, the Toussaints, right? And so, beautiful black family also that they don't necessarily see or amplify, which is something else that we want to make sure that we show, because there are some healthy relationships. And there are beautiful people who are married and look like us that's out there that they don't want to show, right? And so we're going to continue to do what we do. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Your boy Charles Gregory with the beautiful,
classy Lady Sparkle,
and the beautiful
Leda Toussaint.
There you go. And Sheila said before we leave, love the shirt. Oh, love the shirt. There you go. There you go.
I do love the sweatshirt.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. Kudos to my assistant Danny Couture. Actually did this for me.
Nice.
Yeah, my stylist assistant. Yeah, she did her thing. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We out here like last year, man. It was a great show. But we gotta go. It was just like that. I love.
Peace.
So